Look at me. Yeah. करायचं का? सुरू करा ना. So look at me. We said earlier yesterday that the natural numbers are the counting numbers. And the counting does not start with 0. Counting starts with what? 1. So tell me, what is the set of natural numbers? Tell me, what is the set of natural numbers? Natural numbers is 1, 2, 3, 4, dot, 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 dot. 1, 2, 3, 4, dot, 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 dot. Hold on. Then my question is, tell me, what is the set of whole numbers? That is 0, 1, 2, 3, 4, dot, dot, up till what? Infinity. Yesterday we had a good rigorous discussion on what infinity concept is. समझा क्या बाळांनो? पर हमें कल ऐसा हमने देखा था कि अगर 4 रुपीज़ आपका रेवेन्यू है, सेलिंग प्राइस है, और 7 रुपीज़ आपकी कॉस्ट है, पर मैन्युफैक्चरिंग कॉस्ट है, तो आपका प्रॉफिट कितना हो गया? तो प्राइस माइनस कॉस्ट, 4 minus 7, that gives you the negative number. And therefore, when those negative numbers are inscribed into this set, you get on this side you have minus infinity, on this side you have minus infinity, and then somewhere you have minus 3, minus 2, then what? Minus 1, 0, 1, 2, dot, dot, dot. ये समझा? Is that clear? उबरन काढायचं का? हो. तो फिर सेट ऑफ मी कसा दिसतोय? तो natural numbers are 1, 2, 3, 4. Whole numbers are 0, 1, 2, 3, 4. Integers are what? Minus 3, minus 2, minus 1, 0, 1, 2, 3, 4. But then tell me, suppose you have 3 chocolates. You have what? And you give me 2 chocolates. They're done, na? You give me 2 chocolates out of 3 chocolates. I suppose you have 4 chocolates and you give me 2 chocolates. Then tell me, when you have 4 chocolates and you give me 2 chocolates, you give me 2 out of 4 chocolates. You give me 2 out of 4 chocolates. 2 out of 4 means what? 0.5. 2 out of 4 is nothing but what? 0.5. And 2 out of 3 is what? 0.6666666666. It doesn't stop. समझा क्या? And therefore you get these fractions. 1 by 2, 1 by 3, 1 by 4. When these fractions are inscribed into set of integers, when these fractions are, input into the set of integers, you get what are called set of rational numbers. हे कळा का तुमको? तो 1 by 2 is what? 1 by 2 is what? Rational number. 2 by 4 is what? Rational number. 3 by 5 is what? Rational. So when I have the integers plus fractions, when you have integers plus fractions, you get what is called the set of what? Rationals. Samjha? So the fourth side here is going to be that you consider the integers. You consider the integers, and along with the integers, if you consider the fractions, you get what is called set of rational numbers, denoted by what? Q. Hey, Karaga, this is denoted by what? Q. So what is Q? Q is the set of rational numbers. But then try to understand. Today you have 4 chocolates. You give me 4 chocolates. Tomorrow you give me 4 chocolates. Then tell me how many chocolates you have given to me. How many chocolates have you given to me? 8 chocolates. But that means try to understand, you are adding 4 twice or not. See, what did I tell you yesterday? I'm going to assume the basics. I'm going to start working from the basics. So tell me 4 plus 4 is 8, but 4 is added twice. Is that not going to give you 4 into 2? Is that not going to give you 4 into 2? So 4 is added twice means 4 into 2. When you add 4 3 times, when you add 4 3 times, you are going to get 4 into 3. Means if the same number is added twice, you get 2 into that. If the same number is added 3 times, you get 3 into that. If the same number is added 5 times, it will get 5 into that. ये समझा क्या तुमको? हो मैंने की? Now suppose you add 4 times. Means 4 plus 4 plus 4 plus 4. Then you are going to get 4 into 4. And when you get 4 into 4, you say that this is nothing but 4 square. So when the same number, बघा हे सगळे एकमेकांशी कसे interconnected आहेत. When you add the same number, बघा equal number of times, म्हणजे if you add 2 times, 2 into 2, 2 square. 3 added thrice, that will give you 3 into 3. That is 3 raised to 2. So when you have 4 into 4 like that, you get 4 square. And 4 square is nothing but what? 16. Now when 4 square is equal to 16, you know when this square is removed, you can say 4 is equal to root of 16. See, all these operations are connected to each other. या सगळ्यांच्या बेसला कोड आहे तर ॲडिशन. Base is what? Addition. So 4 square is 16, then root of 16 is 4. You know 2 square is 4, and because 2 square is 4, then root of 4 is 2. 5 square is 25, then root of 25 is what? 5. ये समझा क्या तुमको? But if this is true, then my question to you is, what is root of 2? हाँ, अतः यहाँ क्या हो गया? Yes, 16 was a perfect square. This 4 was a perfect square. This 25 was a perfect square. But 2 is not a perfect square. You don't have any natural number whose square is 2. You don't have 1, 2, 3, 4, any number, natural number like that whose square is 2. So when you have the root of non-squares, when you have the root of non-squares, root 2, root 3, root 5, root 6, root 7, root 8, root 10, root 11, when you have the roots of non-squares, you get what are called irrationals. What are known as what? Irrational. And therefore, the numbers like root 2, root 3, root 5, root 6, root 7, root 8, root 10, these are what? Irrational. And when you consider rationals plus irrationals, when you consider rationals plus irrationals, when you have rationals plus irrationals, you get the set of what are called real numbers, and that is denoted by R. But then try to understand, real number does exist. Means what? If you draw the number line, then every point will represent some number. For example, if this represents 0 and this represents 1, then this number may represent 0.5. And this number may represent 0.25. And this number may represent 0.125. समझा क्या तुमको? And therefore, real number does exist and you can show it on the number line. Real number does exist and you can represent it on the line, on the number line. Is that clear? अभी मैंने तुमको ऐसा सवाल पूछा कि what is root of 4? What is root of 4? So you can tell me that this root of 4 is 2 or root of 4 is minus 2. Why? Because 2 into 2 is 4 and minus 2 into minus 2 is 4 as well. Oh, beta. So root of 4 is either plus 2 or minus 2. So wherever I ask you what is the root, you will have to write plus or minus 2. I think it's something guarantee, but then we will write. So root of 4 is nothing but plus or minus 4. I mean plus or minus 2. But if I ask you what is root of minus 4, so in 10th standard you used to call it invalid. You used to call it invalid because ऐसा कोई नंबर नहीं है कि जिसका स्क्वायर निगेटिव होगा. स्क्वायर इज ऑलवेज पॉजिटिव. अभी आप 2 का स्क्वायर करेंगे तो भी पॉजिटिव 4 है, माइनस 2 का स्क्वायर करेंगे तो भी पॉजिटिव 4 है. पर देयर इज नो नंबर हु स्क्वायर इज नेगेटिव. ऐसा नंबर एग्जिस्ट ही नहीं होता है दुनिया में कि जिसका स्क्वायर नेगेटिव होगा. व्हाट डज नॉट एग्जिस्ट, human brain tries to imagine. Human brain does not stop at what can exist. Human brain tries to go beyond what can exist. बरं का, त्या चंद्रावर जाणं किंवा मंगळावर जाणं किंवा अजून कुठे जाणं, this was not possible for a human being maybe about 500 years back. It was impossible. But it tries to go beyond what is possible. ह्युमन ब्रेन डज नॉट स्टॉप ॲट व्हॉट इज पॉसिबल. आपल्याला चिमणीसारखं कावळ्यासारखं उडता येईल असं वाटलं असेल का 700 वर्षापूर्वी? बट देन ही थॉट ऑफ इट अँड देन इट केम इन टू रियालिटी. मग विमानात बसा आणि जा, नाहीतर मग काय भांडताना म्हणा गेला उडत, म्हणजे मग गेला उडत नाही तो गेला उडत चिमणीसारखं. बरोबर ना? So human mind does not stop at what can exist. It tries to imagine something. When in the process of imagination he said, what is square root of minus 1? So it doesn't exist. But he said it does not exist, we understand. But let us call that as imaginary number I. I for imaginary. So square root of minus 1 is I. This is called what? Imaginary number. हो म्हणा. Square root of minus 1 is an imaginary number what? I. Square root of minus 1 is an imaginary number that is known as what? I. So if you have square root of minus 2, then you can split this as root 2 into root of minus 1. You can split the root. If you have root of 6, then you can say this is root of 3 into 2. And you can split this as root 3 into root 2. But also this can be split as root 2 into root of minus 1. But root of minus 1 is I. And therefore this could be written as root 2I. Then my question is, what is root of minus 3? Then you can see that this is root 3 into I. हे कळतंय का आता? It's very simple. Trust me, it's very simple. आणि या सगळ्याचं practical business application we will discuss later on. Then what is root of minus 4? So this is root of 4 into I. And therefore you can say this is 2I. Of course you could have said minus 2I. But minus 2 का square ही 4 होता है ना? So you could have said minus 2I. So this is plus or minus 2I. But anyway, root of minus 4 is 2I. What about root of minus 5? आता सोपं झालं, आता मेकॅनिकल झालं. So it is root 5I. What about root of minus 6? root 6 into I. पहिलं जरा अवघड वाटतं, पण तसं प्रत्येकच गोष्ट पहिल्यांदा जरा अवघड वाटते, जमेल की नाही असं वाटतं, पण नंतर जमतं, मग मजा येते. काय काय चावट काय? अभ्यास चावटपणा करायचा नाही. Then tell me root of minus 7 is nothing but root of 7 into I. What about root of minus 9? You can say that this is 3I. So these all are the imaginary numbers what do not exist. ये समझा क्या? मतलब गिव द हेडिंग. पहला पॉइंट लिखो. पहले हेडिंग दो चैप्टर का कॉम्प्लेक्स नंबर्स. हेडिंग दो कॉम्प्लेक्स नंबर्स. Or under that title, first of all, write down sets of numbers. Give the heading and write down sets of numbers. Sets of numbers. Sets of numbers. And then write down these are the set of natural numbers. These are the set of naturals. मग नॅचरल्स म्हणजे नॅचरलचं आईस्क्रीम असं होत नाही. दीज आर नॅचरल नंबर्स. देन दीज आर सेट ऑफ होल नंबर्स. त्या होलचं स्पेलिंग नीट लिहा. इट्स नॉट HOLE, इट इज वॉट WHOL. भारी की नाही, कडक की नाही. मग दिस इज सेट ऑफ इंटीजर्स. This is the set of integers. Then you have rationals, irrationals, and reals means rationals plus irrationals. This is the largest set of numbers. This is the largest set of numbers. Those exist in reality. Those exist. हो मॅडम मॅडम. एकदम पिटुकलं आहे काय? सोपं आहे. So n is the set of naturals. W is the set of whole numbers including 0. I is negative 0. आता एक लक्षात घ्या काय. See, 0 is neither positive nor negative. 0 is neither positive nor negative. 0 is neither positive nor negative. 0 is inert. 0 is not positive, 0 is not negative. So positive number में 0 आता है क्या? नहीं आता है. नेगेटिव नंबर में 0 आता है क्या? नहीं आता है. 0 अलग ही है. बॉयज में भी नहीं आता, गर्ल्स में भी नहीं आता. कळ्या का? हो गया क्या बाळांनो? That was the first point, the different sets of numbers. But wherever I say naturals, you have to be quick in responding. It's 1, 2, 3, 4. When I say whole numbers, you have to be reflexive in saying that this is 0, 1, 2, 3, 4. हो गया लिख के? लिवलं का? समजांनी लिवलं का? Hello? Very nice. Now give the second heading, imaginary number. Fictitious. Fictitious means imaginary. So this is the imaginary number. Imaginary number. Imaginary number. And basically, what is the definition of imaginary number? The very basic definition of imaginary number is that square root of -1. What is the basic definition? Square root of -1. Square root of -1 is I. That is the very basic. नहीं दिसत है ना? Very good. What is the basic definition? Square root of -1 is I. Root of -1 is I. That's the very basic definition of imaginary number. Root of -1 is I. Yes, समझा? मतलब if that is true, then tell me what will be first root of -2. That will be root 2i. That will be root 2i. What will be root of minus 3? Will be root 3i. What will be root of minus 4? It will be 2i. Mata, you write on your own. Root of minus 5. Root of minus 6. Root of minus 7. Go start. Write it. 7. Root of minus 8. 8. Root of minus 9. Go write it. Go write it. एक सांगू का, कोई भी सब्जेक्ट हो, अगर वह तुम बहुत बार रिपीट करते हो तो वह आसान लगता है. Means you keep on writing root of minus 9, root of minus 10, and then at a point, the point comes when it becomes mechanical. Then it becomes a reflexive action. So लिखो बाळांनो. What will be root of minus 10? What will be root of minus 11? लिखो. Finish. What is root of minus 5? याला काही डोकं लागतं का? This even girls can do. Any objection? Any objection? मग माझ्याशी भांडायचं काय ऑब्जेक्शन असेल तर. मग रूट ऑफ 7 into I. This is root of 8 into I. But then try to understand root 8 can be written as 4 into 2. That into I. But root of 4 is 2, na? So you can also say this is 2 root 2 into I. 2 root 2 into I. 4 चा root 2 असतं ना? But it will be 2 root 2 into I. This will be 3i. This will be root 10 into I. This will be root of 11 into I. ये समझा? Is that clear? Very nice. मग अभी मैं क्या करूँगा? I will take one real number. Let us suppose if I take the real number as what 5. एक लिया रियल नंबर प्लस एक लिया इमेजिनरी नंबर से 3i. Then one real number plus one imaginary number gives you what is called complex number. Complex का मतलब क्या होता है? Complex मतलब गुंता गुंता ना अशी. तो केसात गुंता होतो की नाही? तसं. हे कशाचा गुंता झाला हा? रियल नंबर अँड इमॅजिनरी नंबर. सो व्हॉट इज कॉम्प्लेक्स नंबर? एक मिनिट लिहू नका. व्हॉट इज कॉम्प्लेक्स नंबर? इट इज रियल नंबर प्लस इमॅजिनरी. बट देन ट्राय टू अंडरस्टँड. This 5 is a real number. And even this 3 is a real number. 3i is imaginary number. But of that multiplier of I, coefficient of I, which is 3. 3 is a real number, na? And therefore, complex number generally denoted by Z. That is written as A plus IB or X plus IY. And in that these A and B, they belong to real numbers. A real number है. B is also real number. Of course. BI is imaginary number. So what does it mean? A is real number. B is real number. A is real number. B is real number. But BI is imaginary number. B into I is imaginary number. ये समझा क्या? हे कळलं का? So write down. Start. Give the heading. Complex number. Complex number. Give the heading complex number. And then write down. A complex number is denoted by. Complex number is denoted by. Complex number is denoted by. Z is equal to A plus IB. Z is equal to A plus IB, where A and B belong to real numbers. Yeah, they're real. So write down what it means is that A is real number. What it means is that A is real number. For that matter, B is real number. But BI is imaginary number. B into I is imaginary number. ये समझा क्या? मग of that, this A is called the real part of Z. This A is called the real part of Z. And B is called the imaginary part of Z. It is the imaginary part of Z. That B is called imaginary part of Z. And mind well, BI is imaginary number. So imaginary number is different and imaginary part is different. Whatever is the coefficient of I, whatever is the multiplier of I, that is the imaginary part. So if I ask you what is the imaginary part, you have to say B. And if I ask you what is the imaginary number, you have to say BI. And what is the real part, that is A. Hey, is that clear? Hey, it's very simple, but if something is not clear, please ask it. I'll repeat any number of times you ask. So, yes, of course. So that is called the real part of that Z. In that Z, what is the real part? A. In that Z, what is the imaginary part? B. B. And what is the imaginary number in Z? BI. That's the difference. And therefore, for example, if I write Z is equal to 2 plus 3i. If I write Z is equal to 2 plus 3i. Tell me, what is real part? Then real part is 2. What is imaginary part? Imaginary part is what? Just 3. 3i nahi. But imaginary number is what? That is 3i. Is it clear, Brandon? Come on. I write. Second. I write. Z is equal to 4 minus 3i. You have to tell me what is real part of Z. 4. What is imaginary part of Z? It's minus 3. And basically imaginary number in that is what? Is minus 3i. If I ask you Z is equal to minus root 7 plus root 5 into I. What is real part of Z? It is minus root 7. What is imaginary part of Z? That is root 5. And what is imaginary number in that? That is root 5 into I. I hope this is clear now. Oh, man. Now my question is, Z is equal to 5i. Now z is equal to 5i. Is that a complex number? Is that an imaginary number? I आला कि तो imaginary हो तो. So yes, that is imaginary. Is that a complex number? Just try to understand. I can write 5i as 0 plus 5i. It's a complex number. 0 can be added anywhere, na? And therefore, this is a complex number in which real part of z is 0 and imaginary part of z is 5. And imaginary number in that, imaginary number is 5i. Now if I say z is equal to 7, z is equal to 7, is that a real number? Yes. Is that a complex number? Yes. Because I can write 7 as 7 plus 0i. 0 into I is 0, na? So 0 can be added anywhere. And therefore, this is real part of z is 7. Imaginary part of z is 0. Hey, Mata, there is an observation involved over here. Observation that develops from here. 5i, look at me, 5i, stay focused, 5i is imaginary number. But that is also the complex number. And 7 is the real number. But that is also the complex number. So every real number is a complex number. Every imaginary number is a complex number. Every real number is a complex number. Every imaginary number is a complex number. But every complex number is not imaginary. Every complex number is not real. कावळा काळा असतो. बरोबर ना? पण काळा कावळाच असतो का? तर काळी म्हैस पण असू शकते. कावळा काळा. पण काळा डज नॉट मीन कावळाच. हे अरे कळतंय का? Maharashtrian is Indian. But does it mean every Indian is Maharashtrian? No, he can be Marwadi also. And therefore, every real number is complex, but every complex number is not real. Every imaginary number is a complex number, but every complex number may not be real or imaginary for that matter. समझा? तो यहाँ note लिखो. Therefore, write down the note there. Write down the note. What note will you write, guess? Oh, every real number is complex number. Every imaginary number is complex number. समझा? But every real number, every what? Complex number. Every complex number may not be real number. It cannot be even imaginary number, not necessary. It may be, but possibility that it is not. यह डाउट समझा क्या तुमको? Every crow, each crow is black, but each black is not crow. Can be a buffalo as well. कळ्या का? कळलं का रे? So what do you mean by complex number? One real number and one imaginary number. When they come together, you get a complex number. Is that clear? So imaginary number is not same as complex. Every imaginary is complex, but every complex may not be imaginary. 7 is the complex number, but 7 is not the imaginary number. 3i is the imaginary number and 3i is the complex number, but it is not real number. ये समझा क्या तुमको? हाँ, वेरी गुड. हाँ, माता थर्ड पॉइंट. हमने ये 2 पॉइंट्स लिखे. फर्स्ट वॉज द सेट ऑफ नंबर्स and second was the very definition of the complex number. Clear? So write on the next point. Now my question to you is, so what do you know? What is I? Basically tell me what is I. Basically tell me what is I. So I is root of minus 1. What you know is that I is nothing but root of minus 1. I is root of minus 1. हो बना की? मतलब मैंने तुमको बोला कि what will be I square? Then it is going to be root of minus 1 the square. My root and square will vanish. And you get minus 1. So I square will happen to be minus 1. So because I is root of minus 1, I square will be minus 1. Therefore I square will be minus 1. है कहते का? Root of minus 1 का square किया तो root चला जाएगा. And you will be getting what? Minus 1. हो असं म्हणा. आता काय म्हणायचं? समझा? कड़क के नहीं? मग अभी मैंने तुमको बोला, आता लिहू नका. अभी मैंने तुमको बोला what is I cube. मग I cube can be split as I square into I. I cube, एक लक्षात घ्या. Try to understand. X raised to m into x raised to n could be written as x raised to m plus n. I cube can be written as I square into I raised to 1. म्हणजे I raised to 3 होतं. So that is nothing but I square into I. But I is minus 1 ना? So it will be minus 1 into I. So it is minus I. Minus 1 into I means minus I. हे कळते का रे? I square is minus 1. And that into I. Minus 1 into I is what? Minus 1. हे कळलं का? नाही नाही तसं नाही रे. हा म्हणजे पण त्याची गरज नाही. I we are going to keep it in I only ना. So it is minus 1 into I. If I ask you what is I raised to 4, then you can write it as I square square. So you have to know the basic laws of indices. X raised to m into x raised to n is x raised to m plus n. Then x raised to m and that raised to n could be written as x raised to m into n. हे कळते का? मग I raised to 4 is I square square. I square square. Hey baka, you can take time to understand. No problem. We are not in hurry at all. We have started good in advance well before the college starts. So take advantage of that. If something is not clear, you can ask it. I raised to 4 is I square square. Hey karte ka? But I square is minus 1. So minus 1 ka square. Ata try to understand. When you have minus 1 raised to even number, it is plus 1. And when you have minus 1 raised to odd number, it will be minus 1. म्हणजे असं की minus 1 square is 1 and minus 1 cube is minus 1. हे कळतं का बाळांनो? Minus 1 raised to any even number is plus 1 and minus 1 raised to any odd number is what? Minus 1. मतलब मैंने तुमको बोला, नका लियो, मैंने तुमको बोला कि what is I raised to 5. मग हम ऑलवेज क्या करेंगे? एक I को स्प्लिट करेंगे, एक I को सेपरेट करेंगे. तो एक I को सेपरेट किया तो क्या रहेगा? I raised to. एका आयला असं नाही, एका आयला बाजूला करायचं काय? तो दिस इज I into I raised to 4 and therefore I into I square square. तो I into minus 1 square तो इट इज I into 1 means I. हां, त्याचे नाही ना, आपल्याला I मध्येच काम करायचं आहे. I ची व्हॅल्यू रूट ऑफ -1, दॅट्स फाईन, बट वी आर गोइंग टू वर्क विथ I ना. Very title of the chapter is complex number, imaginary number. So imaginary number will definitely have I. परत I ची व्हॅल्यू टाकून काय होणार? त्या व्हॅल्यूला आपण I असं नाव दिलंय. जसं तुला तुझ्या आईबाबांनी काय नाव दिलं? कृष्ण. धरती पे आ जा तू, प्यार सिखा जा तू. काय तर जसा तुला आता काय माहिती का, की आईबाबांनी नाव दिलं कृष्ण, या कृष्णाच्या ऐवजी राधा पण देऊ शकले असते. पण तसं आपण रूट ऑफ -1 काही नाव देऊ शकतो, बट दॅट इज गिवन ग्लोबली ॲक्सेप्टेड नेम इज I. समजा आता कळ, ते आहेच असते ना रूट ऑफ -1. मग ऑफकोर्स I म्हणजेच रूट ऑफ -1, ते त्याचं सिम्बॉल आहे रे. आता व्हॉट इज I raised to 6? मग आय कॅन राईट दिस ॲज I²⁵. It is I²⁵. So it will be -1 the cube means -1. हे कळलं का? मग इफ आय हॅव I raised to 7, मग एक I सेपरेट करा. मग I raised to 6, मग एक I तसाच. मग दिस इज I² raised to 3, म्हणजे दिस इज I -1³ म्हणजे I into -1. सो दिस इज -I. डोंट राईट एनिथिंग, फर्स्ट लेटर डेव्हलप. कळलं का? मग आता इफ आय आस्क यू I raised to 8, टेल मी हाऊ शुड आय गो? दॅट इज I² raised to 4. म्हणजे काय करायचं माहिती का, I raised to इवन नंबर आला ना, तर मग इट शुड बी I² raised to दॅट इवन नंबर डिवायडेड बाय 2. असं करायचं. आणि इफ I raised to ऑड आला तर मग काय करायचं, एक I सेपरेट करायचं, आणि देन इट विल बी I raised to इवन नंबर. असं आहे. आय विल राईट ऑल दिस इन, डोंट वरी, फक्त ट्राय टू अंडरस्टँड ॲट प्रेझेंट. मग आता मला सांगा I² raised to 4, व्हॉट इज I²? मग -1 raised to 4, व्हॉट इज -1 raised to 4? 1 +1. समजा. मग आता I raised to 9 हा ऑड आहे की नाही? मग एका आयला सेपरेट करा, मग इट विल बी I into I raised to 8. देन दिस इज I, मग I² raised to 4 म्हणजे I -1 raised to 4 म्हणजे I into 1 which is I. I raised to, पण ते आपण आता एक, मी समजा इफ आय आस्क यू व्हॉट इज I raised to 56, आता काय करणार? मग I raised to 56 इज इवन नंबर की नाही? मग राईट इट ॲज I² raised to दॅट इवन नंबर वॉट एव्हर यू हॅव डिवायडेड बाय 2. म्हणजे इट कॅन बी I² raised to 28 म्हणजे -1 raised to 28 म्हणजे +1. -1 raised to इवन नंबर म्हणजे +1 असतो की नाही? इफ आय आस्क यू व्हॉट इज I raised to, बरं का, व्हॉट इज I raised to 96, देन हाऊ विल यू गो? हां, म्हणजे I² raised to 96 by 2. हां, म्हणजे I² raised to 46 म्हणजे 48 म्हणजे -1 raised to 48 इज इवन नंबर, सो प्लस. हे कळलं का? हां, पण इफ आय आस्क यू व्हॉट इज I raised to 95, बोला आता. मग एक I सेपरेट केला म्हणजे मग I raised to 94. आता तो इवन पॉवर झाली, सो दॅट इज I into I² raised to 94 by 2 म्हणजे I into I² raised to 47 म्हणजे I -1 raised to 47 म्हणजे I into -1, सो इट इज माइनस. भारी की नाही? या समजा क्या तुमको? हे कळलं का? म्हणजे थोडक्यात काय लक्ष ठेवायचं. सो राईट डाऊन. गिव्ह द हेडिंग. गिव्ह द हेडिंग. फाइंडिंग द व्हॅल्यू ऑफ. असं हेडिंग द्या. फाइंडिंग द व्हॅल्यू ऑफ आय रेस टू एन. फाइंडिंग द व्हॅल्यू ऑफ आय रेस टू एन. फाइंडिंग द व्हॅल्यू ऑफ आय रेस टू एन. असं हेडिंग द्या. And then write down I is root of -1. So I square is -1. I is root of -1. Therefore I square is -1. And then few more notes we are going to write. Listen carefully. Now don't write. Now don't write. Few notes we are going to write. Listen. Look. Look at me. What happens? Try to understand. If you have I raised to odd number, then I split it as I into I raised to some even number. When you have some I raised to even number, you will say this is I square raised to that even number, whatever it is, that divided by 2. Then you have to understand -1 raised to even power is +1. -1 raised to odd power is -1. हे कळलं का बाळांनो? तो लिखो. Come on, write down. हो म्हणा. Mata, for example, now the first, if you want I cube, tell me how should I write? Odd है कि नहीं? हाँ, 3 odd है कि नहीं? म्हणजे I into I square. So I into -1 means it is -I. हे कळलं? नसेल कळलं तर नाही म्हणा. Any doubt? I I square is -1 ना. इथे लिहिलं ना बेटा आपण. I square is -1 ना. I square is -1. So this I square is this -1. But -1 into I is -. I raised to 4. Now 4 is even number, right? So you will write this as I square raised to 4 by 2. असं लिहा 4 by 2. म्हणजे I square raised to 2. म्हणजे -1 square. But -1 square is 1. ते लिहा तसं की 4 is 4 by 2 is 4 by 2. हो म्हणा. हो मग if I ask you I raised to 57. Now 57 is odd. So tell me, what will you do? I raised to 56. म्हणजे I square raised to 56 by 2. नाही असं लिहा 56 by 2, नाही तर नंतर कळत नाही मग. So it is I into I square raised to 28 means I minus 1 raised to 28 means I into 1 which is I. अभी समझा मैंने ना. मग tell me, what about I raised to 86? आता 86 is even number, so it will be I raised to 2 over 86 by 2 म्हणजे I square raised to 43 म्हणजे minus 1 raised to 43 is odd, so it is minus 1. minus 1 raised to odd number is minus 1. हे कळलं का? आता कळलं ना? त्याची थीम कळली का? मग होमवर्क करणार का? विल यू डू द होमवर्क? पण खरंच करायचं काय? आणि तो इथेच करून नाही टाकायचा होमवर्क म्हणून, तो खरंच घरी जाऊन ते उघडायचं. सो फाइंड द व्हॅल्यूज ऑफ आय क्यू. I raised to 4, I raised to 5, I raised to 6, I raised to 7, I raised to 8, I raised to 9, I raised to 10, I raised to 11, I raised to 12, I raised to 15, I raised to 18, I raised to 19. एवढ्या व्हॅल्यूज काढायच्या. विल यू? खरं करणार का खोटं बोलणार? नाही ना. इतने व्हॅल्यूज निकाल. कळलं का? टुमारो वी विल फेच दिस डिस्कशन. आहे सोपं आहे की नाही? एकदम व्हेरी इझी. वी आर गोइंग टू मेक इट इझी. ओके राईट, वी स्टॉप. हां, textbook is the material that you have to refer to. Class the notebook, that is your material. बाकी मग textbook exercises are enough. That you will get for foundation, that you will get for intermediate, that you will get for ahead. पण आता ते 11वी 12वीला textbookच